Here's how you get around the comic strip. By now, you must have gotten to the main menu, where you got to me, your guide. From the main menu, you have a couple of choices. Choose Intro to get a message from Stan Lee. Press Start Comic Book to start reading from the beginning. If you press Go to Page, you'll be able to type in a page number and go right to that page. If you press Trivia, you can play the trivia game. You'll also see a switch labeled VoiceOver On, Off. Switch it over to Off if you want to skip the action summaries of the pages. Finally, the Character Bios button will take you to the biographies, where you'll get the information on all the characters in the comic. Just click on any of their faces to learn more about them. Once you're at a comic page, you use the Next button to go to the next page, and the Previous button to get to the page before. The Zoom In and Zoom Out buttons will make the picture larger or smaller. There are 3 sizes to check out. The small size is good for seeing the whole page at a time. The big size is a good size for reading, and the huge size is for great eye-popping detail. The BIOS button on the control strip will take you to the character information pages. When you get to the character you want, and you decide to go back, you press Done, and you'll get to the main menu of characters. Then press Done again, and you'll get back to the comic page you are on. There's also a Help button on the control strip. Press this to get a summary showing you what buttons do what, in case you forget. Finally, you have your Menu button to get you back to the first main menu screen. You'll see the cursor turn into a hand when you roll the mouse over the comic page in the big-sized page and the huge-sized page. This means you can drag the page around the screen. To drag it, click the mouse somewhere on the page, and with the mouse button down, move the mouse in the direction you want to go. If you move the mouse all the way to the top or bottom of the page and hold it down, the page will scroll automatically. You can also move the page up or down, or in the huge page size, left and right, using the up, down, left and right arrow keys. Meanwhile, keep your eyes peeled for funny symbols on the page. They will appear in selected places throughout the comic. Usually, they will be in the lower left-hand corners of the panels, but sometimes they will be in other spots. You might see an ear, a comic book, or a TV set. Click the mouse twice anywhere in the panels with the symbols. If it's an ear panel, you'll get to hear the action. If it's a TV set, you'll get to see the action with a clip from the TV show. If it's a comic book, it'll take you back through time to another issue of the comic to give you background about the story you're reading. Then you can read the flashback issue just like the main comic, only when you're done, click back and get back to the page you were on before. Of course, when you're done with the comic, you just go back to the main menu and press Quit. Enough said.
Hi, heroes! Fasten your seatbelts, 'cause Mighty Marvel is about to take you to a new dimension. It's the exciting, interactive dimension where you'll find your favorite Marvel heroes and villains on CD. Right before your eyes, we're about to turn your computer into a fantastic on-screen comic book, which will give you more than 80 pages of dazzling superhero action. Just look at all you're going to get. Your favorite Marvel thrillers with all new computer-enhanced coloring, plus extra backstory pages that weren't included in the original comics. Special panels offering exciting clips from Marvel's top-rated TV animated shows with fantastic interactive sound effects just for you. And would you believe that your own favorite superheroes will personally accompany you through each and every story? How can we give you so much, so fast, so generously? Hey, that's why our name is Marvel. Now this is the one you've been waiting for. You're about to thrill to the stirring spectacle of Terrax the Tamer fleeing to Earth, pursued by the mighty demigod Galactus, only to be met by the desperate Fantastic Four, fighting valiantly to save their planet. And if that's not enough, we tossed in the awesome Avengers, the world's greatest team of superheroes, featuring Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, Prince of Asgard. But because we're big-hearted Marvel, we have still more for you. We've added backstories showing the origin of the World Destroyer himself, plus Mr. Fantastic's most amazing encounter with the ever-loving blue-eyed thing. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't say any more. When I think of what we're giving you, I get all choked up.
In one of millions of average New York City apartments, a young actress named Julie D'Angelo struggles through her workout routine. Her mind is not on her exercise, but rather on her roommate, Frankie Ray, who along with her boyfriend, Johnny Storm, has not been seen in the weeks since strange lights filled the sky and a blackout gripped the city. Suddenly, the doorbell rings and a startling sight confronts the young woman. A drained and weak Johnny Storm falls limply into Julie's arms. Recognizing that he is suffering from extreme shock and exhaustion, she lays the young man down on the couch and brews some hot tea. As her surprise at seeing the famous Human Torch in this condition fades, Julie turns to the phone to make an important and intimidating phone call. Ten minutes later, a knock at the door heralds the arrival of the very concerned Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Girl. While Johnny plaintively wonders why he should continue living with Frankie gone forever, the Invisible Girl tries to comfort him. At Julie's prodding, Mr. Fantastic agrees to tell her the story of the incredible fate of Frankie Ray. Space, neither endless nor final. It is limited by the same laws which bind the fleeting lives of man and woman. In a vast hydrogen cloud, matter slowly condenses, giving birth to suns and planets. Elsewhere, the shattered remnants of a world that never was fall through the darkness. But one turns against the pull of gravity and strikes a course of its own. Back on Earth, in Central Park, a lone figure braves the cold night air. Suddenly, he's surrounded by a gang of toughs seeking easy prey. One of the youth snatches off the intended victim's hat, revealing the rocky countenance of the Thing. At the sight of the monstrous orange hero, the gang scatters. The Fantastic Four in The More Things Change. The invisible girl, carrying her young son Franklin, finds Mr. Fantastic tinkering with a robot in his lab. The modified Herbie robot will make a perfect watchdog for the youngster, while his parents tend to their duties as members of the Fantastic Four. While the invisible girl frets that Reed's new robot babysitter will teach the boy to speak like a machine, Reed points out that it will help monitor Franklin's developing mutant abilities. Suddenly, the Thing arrives with Alicia Masters and is only narrowly prevented from demolishing the robot, which he frequently quarreled with in its previous incarnation. Once the Thing is calmed down about the reappearance of the Herbie robot, Mr. Fantastic leads him to a secret part of their headquarters. There, in a hidden lab, Mr. Fantastic has constructed a machine which he declares will once and for all cure his friend of being the Thing. The Thing is skeptical about Mr. Fantastic's device to change him back into a normal human. Assured by his friend that this time it will work, the Thing confronts Alicia, who promises she will love him no matter what form he wears. Stripping down to his uniform trunks, the Thing sits in Mr. Fantastic's machine. The complicated process of hooking him in is completed, and finally Mr. Fantastic advises everyone to take a last look at the Thing as he throws the switch. As the energies of Mr. Fantastic's amazing device play across his rocky body, the thing can feel it drawing the cosmic rays out of him. His form slowly begins to change, turning softer, and eventually becoming almost human. Suddenly, the machine the thing is hooked up to explodes violently. The invisible girl protects Franklin and Alicia from the blast as Mr. Fantastic peers through the smoke, watching his friend's shape emerge into view. The thing now possesses neither the human appearance of Ben Grimm nor his familiar rocky hide. Much to everyone's shock, the thing has instead devolved into the lumpy orange state he was in when he first got his powers. What's worse, nothing can undo this effect. This time, it's permanent. As the thugs run, the thing hurls a snowball after them. Thanks to his mighty muscles, the snowball grows into a thundering juggernaut, engulfing the attackers. A few moments later, the thing's blind girlfriend, Alicia Masters, enters the scene, led by a police officer. While the Thing and Alicia walk off arm in arm, Johnny Storm and Frankie Ray stroll through another part of the city, choosing to walk rather than use their blazing superpowers. As Johnny spots the building where he once found the amnesic Submariner, Frankie spies the village theater, their final destination. Inside the theater, Frankie and Johnny wait backstage while Julie D'Angelo rehearses a scene. When the director breaks up the rehearsal to dress down Julie's co-star, she greets her friends and apologizes for the poor quality of the performance. Questioned by her roommate, Frankie jokingly admits that the heroic pair hasn't saved the world lately. Suddenly, everyone's attention is turned to the sky outside, which is twisted into an eerie, warped maelstrom. With a blinding flash of combustion, Frankie and Johnny streak skyward to investigate. Alarms sound throughout the Fantastic Four's headquarters in the famous Baxter Building. Mr. Fantastic determines that a space warp is opening above New York. But before he can explain any further, Frankie and Johnny streak in and shout for everyone to duck. On the heels of that warning, a massive explosion tears through the building, scattering the Fantastic Four like dolls. When the smoke clears, a powerful figure stands over the ruins. Terrax. Enraged at this unprovoked attack, the thing charges at Terrax, but the alien strikes him down. The sheer force of the mighty blow sends the thing plummeting down through the floors of the Baxter Building.
Strike, Terrax! Wreak havoc! Meet your end, my friend!
You're wrong, Ding Dong! One for the money, two for the show. You're gonna get it, you big dumb fool! Stay down, you cementhead!
The invisible girl stares with disbelief into the gaping hole where the thing once stood. Undaunted, the Human Torch warns Frankie Ray to stay back and attacks Terrax with a blazing energy blast. Swinging his enormous axe, Terrax smashes the torch, propelling him into the buildings across the street. His rubbery body stretched to the maximum, Mr. Fantastic envelops his enemy, but is easily repulsed by an incredible reverse pressure field. As Terrax rants and gloats over his superiority, a large orange figure approaches from behind. A shattering blow from the thing sends Terrax flying out across the rooftops. Like a living stone missile, Terrax arcs across the city and smashes into a taxi. Unhurt, the alien aggressor rises up out of the earth atop a floating island of rock, which transports him to the top of the World Trade Center. There, Terrax lifts his cosmic axe and sends waves of energy rippling outward. Realizing that something extremely dangerous is happening, Mr. Fantastic instructs the Invisible Girl to use her powers to reveal the effects of Terrax's energy waves. With a thought, she renders the waves visible to the naked eye. All look on in horror as Manhattan Island is cut off from the mainland by the aliens' power. Suddenly, open to the rivers above, the tunnels to Manhattan begin to flood. Meanwhile, across town in Queens, Peter Parker is relaxing with his Aunt May when he suddenly feels the powerful tingling of his spider sense and staggers outside to witness the whole island of Manhattan covered by a glowing cocoon. Across the threatened metropolis, heroes respond to the growing crisis. Dr. Don Blake strikes his cane to the ground and becomes Thor, the god of thunder. Tony Stark dons a suit of red and yellow armor and streaks through the night as Iron Man. Swinging from rooftop to rooftop is Daredevil, whose crucial radar sense is distorted by the energy waves. At Avengers Mansion, Captain America and the Wasp respond to a maximum priority alarm. They can hardly believe their sensors. For the mansion to be on emergency power, all of Manhattan must be cut off from the rest of New York. Even Thor is awed by the sight of the giant cocoon containing Manhattan rising into the air. But before the Thunder God can investigate, Iron Man points out the rapidly flooding tunnels full of motorists. Thor plunges down into the river, and by his power a hurricane is unleashed, parting the waters. Pushing his vast powers to their limits and beyond, Thor holds back the river, while Iron Man, ever amazed at the abilities of his comrade, begins to evacuate the hundreds of cars trapped in the tunnels. Not far away, Spider-Man swings up over the city in a wide arc, attempting to hitch a ride on the rapidly receding cocoon. When Spider-Man's thin line of webbing can't adhere to the mysterious cocoon, he rigs a quick safety net to break his fall. Inside, atop the Baxter building, the Thing readies skybikes and spacesuits for the next confrontation with Terrax. While Frankie stays behind to protect the Invisible Girl, the others soar off toward the World Trade Center. While New Yorkers, including Daily Bugle editor J. Jonah Jameson, deal with the effects of the energy cocoon, the male members of the Fantastic Four again face Terrax. With a gesture, the imperious villain contracts the cocoon, thrusting the top of the building out of its protection. Now it is clear to the heroes that the cocoon is actually hurtling through the void of space. Faced with Terrax's threat, the Human Torch refuses to believe that anyone would casually destroy a city. But an arrogant Terrax reminds him that as the Herald of Galactus, he was responsible for the destruction of entire planets. Mr. Fantastic solemnly admits that they have no choice but to do Terrax's bidding. Aboard his spherical starship sits the being known as Galactus, pondering the one tiny world which has repeatedly stymied him. With resolve, Galactus realizes he will do what he must to survive. though his power is at its weakest ebb. He draws from his ship all its remaining energy and prepares for the arrival of the champions of Terrax. Mr. Fantastic, the Thing, and the Human Torch make their way through the starship of Galactus. They would rather not fight for Terrax, but with Galactus low in energy, and having been released from his promise not to destroy the Earth, they may never have a better opportunity to defeat him. Suddenly, the three heroes find themselves in the presence of Galactus. Atop the Baxter Building, the Invisible Girl explains to Frankie Ray that Terrax was once the herald of Galactus, a being who feeds on the life essences of whole planets. Only by the narrowest of margins have the Fantastic Four prevented him from consuming Earth. Frankie finds herself shocked and fascinated by Galactus. In orbit above Earth, atop the cocoon enveloping Manhattan, Terrax realizes no battle is taking place on Galactus's ship. He lashes out with his enormous axe, and an arc of indescribable force slashes open the great starship. Propelling himself onto the ship, Terrax commands the members of the Fantastic Four to attack. Master and servant confront one another in space as Galactus telepathically rebuffs Terrax. His is a power beyond power, a knowledge beyond thought, explains Galactus. As if to demonstrate, Galactus restores the city of Manhattan to Earth in a flash of brilliant white light. On Earth, the city of Manhattan is returned to normal, its citizens unaware of the scope of the events that have transpired. Sue Storm, who kept the cocoon over the city opaque for so long, can finally relax her concentration. With Sue safe, Frankie Ray wanders into the Baxter Building, one thought possessing her: Galactus. Atop the World Trade Center, a brilliant flash of light leaves Galactus, the Thing, the Human Torch, Mr. Fantastic, and Terrax facing each other across the Twin Towers. Still believing his power to be greater than his master's artificial energies, Terrax attacks wielding his cosmic-powered axe. Unaffected by the assault of Terrax, Galactus lifts his herald with a wave of his hand and pierces his body with twin beams of pure force from his eyes. Unmeasurable amounts of energy flow out of Terrax and back into his master, leaving the burned-out shell of the herald left to fall to Earth, his cosmic power gone. Though he has reabsorbed the power of Terrax, Galactus still feels the hunger, the need to feed. Isolating the Thing, the Human Torch, and Mr. Fantastic in force fields, Galactus assembles his elemental converter to begin the process of draining Earth of its life essence. As Galactus prepares his elemental converter to drain Earth's energy, Mr. Fantastic makes a desperate appeal to the cosmic being's humanity. Once he was a mere mortal, Galactus admits, but he has left that existence far behind. He reaches for the final switch to activate the converter, but a bolt of electricity engulfs him. The origin of Galactus. Home. This is the place that Galactus has sought out in his wanderings across the universe. Only this point in space holds any sanctuary from the ravaging cosmic appetite that consumes him. Here Galactus can rest and remember the now-dead paradise called Ta. Ta was once home to the most advanced civilization in the universe. The men and women who built that civilization traveled across their world in miraculous thought spheres from which they bore witness to the ever-changing wonders of Ta. Even on Ta, all was not well. The scientist Galan, having traveled to the farthest reaches of the cosmos, brought back dread tidings. The very molecules and atoms of matter were changing. Ta, like the rest of the universe, was doomed. Indeed, theirs was one of the last worlds in existence. The inhabitants of Ta attempted to come to terms with their grim fate. The greatest brains in their world proved powerless to stop the universal decay. The approach of oblivion brought deadly radiation ever closer, striking down whole species in their prime. Taking to one of his people's thought spheres, Galan traveled across Ta, desperate to find a way to preserve the glory and grandeur of his civilization. Reaching the world's heartland, he discovered a town square full of people falling like flies. The radiation had begun to claim the citizens of Ta. Galan despaired that no antidote could save his people. He yearned for one living being to survive, that at least a vestige of Ta might live on. Inevitably, the glory of his world ended, and only a few were left alive out of a civilization of billions. Enough of Galan's people remained to join him in a last flight into the terminal point of the universe, where they might die in glorious flight. Their starship set forth from the perishing planet, carrying a crew whose deaths would be a testament to the living memory of Ta. They plunged inexorably into the cosmic cauldron which engulfed all matter. As the cosmic rays destroyed Galan's spaceship, the crew exulted in the blazing glory of their deaths. They each perished in turn, except for Galan, who felt the presence of a new life force. Unhindered, the starship passed straight into the fiery cauldron of the cosmos. At the end of existence, the last son of Ta heard the sentient voice of the universe call out to him. As all matter collapsed in on it, the universe embraced Galan. From their union would be born a new entity. From nothingness there would come a cosmic ravager, Galactus. After an eternity of stillness, the cosmic egg of the universe exploded, and from its bosom hurtled a tiny starship. Eons later, the starship passed the outpost of one of the beings called the Watchers, who was intrigued by the ship pulsing with a level of energy never before seen. The Watcher drew the vessel down to the planet's surface.
Planet, my people watched countless worlds evolve over eons of what you call time. Some for good, others for evil, some so debased by war, greed, and hatred that they descended into savagery. But though our power is great, we are pledged only to watch, never to interfere.
Though he was sworn not to interfere in the lives of other beings, the Watcher could not resist learning more about the amazing starship he had found. Searching the damaged craft, he discovered its single inhabitant, whose body coursed with energies beyond comprehension. The Watcher began to study the mysterious being. The Watcher's studies of the starship's passenger led to a sudden awakening of the being. One arm, crackling with the raw, living power of the cosmos, broke free of his containment dome. A massive explosion erupted, and the Watcher realized that he was in the presence of one who possessed power enough to shatter a planet. Like a miniature sun, the power of the Watcher's subject fed upon itself. Soon it would seek sustenance, and only the energy of a world might appease it. The Watcher knew he could destroy the ravenous being, but he had pledged never to interfere in the affairs of others, though galaxies might live and die as a consequence. The ship departed the planet of the Watcher. The newborn being ejected his dead companions into space and journeyed on alone. In the endless void, he toiled to build a unique bodysuit to help regulate his awesome energies. The reborn survivor of a universe long dead transformed his craft into a chamber in which he might rest and mature. After centuries, it drifted into orbit around the planet Archaeopia. Aware of the strange presence, the inhabitants of the planet dared not tamper with it, lest they release the unknown. For years, the mysterious cube floated above Archaeopia undisturbed. Eventually, an interstellar war fleet invaded the planet and mistook the ship for a weapon. The firepower of an entire space fleet was focused upon the incubator cube. As the combined energies of a marauding invasion fleet struck the cube, something stirred within the Inferno. His incubation period ended. Galactus lived at last. With a gesture, the newborn king decimated the fleet and emerged, ready to slake his burning hunger. Not knowing or caring who dwelled upon the planet that harbored him for so many years, Galactus violently siphoned off its life energy. As the planet was ripped apart by the strain, a ragtag fleet carrying the remaining Archaeopians fled the destruction. Homeless, left to travel the galaxy aimlessly, these survivors would eventually become known as the Wanderers. His almost limitless hunger temporarily sated, Galactus traveled to the devastated surface of Archaeopia. The sight of the carnage he had wrought moved the mighty being. He decided he would turn his cosmic power to creative ends, fashioning a new, more glorious world from the ashes of Archaeopia. For millennia, Galactus toiled at his work, replenishing his power as necessary. Finally, where once existed the Archaeopian system, now there was Ta-2, a world ship unique in the universe. Here, truly, was a home fit for a star god. Thrown from the top of the World Trade Center, Galactus halts his fall and faces his new attacker, Thor and the rest of the Avengers. Iron Man sends twin repulsor blasts into Galactus, staggering him. Captain America glides the Avengers Quinjet closer, and Thor unleashes the full fury of his powers upon the startled giant. As Galactus reels from the powerful combined assault of the Avengers, Mr. Fantastic cautions that they must drive their enemy to the ground lest he fall from the top of the World Trade Center and kill dozens of bystanders. The Wasp flits into the eye slit of Galactus's armor and distracts him enough to force him down. The Avengers and the Fantastic Four close in on Galactus, who is landed in the streets below the World Trade Center. Mr. Fantastic points out to the others that Galactus's size has dwindled as he has expended energy in the battle. Just arriving on the scene is Dr. Strange, who weaves a mystical spell with but a gesture. Rocked by unseen forces, the mighty Galactus screams. Seeing that Galactus has been weakened by the spell cast by Dr. Strange, Mr. Fantastic and the Thing spring into action. Years of teamwork pay off as the thing leans into his partner, stretching him tight like a rubber band. Releasing his footing, the thing is hurled into Galactus with unimaginable force, staggering him.
And the same thing goes for me, oversized cornball. One for the money, two for the show. You're gonna get it, you big dumb schmo.
Get away from him, Ben!
Look out!
Who you think you're messing with, you king-size clown?
Hold your breath, everyone! As near as I can figure, he's using some sort of cosmic insecticide.
Rocked by the impact of the thing, the inconceivable happens. Galactus falls. Doctor Strange reveals that he confronted Galactus with the ghosts of all those he had slain, forcing him to shut down his mind to avoid madness. The Planet Slayer is only moments from death. Amazingly, first Mr. Fantastic and then Captain America explain what they must do next. Save the life of Galactus. Faced with the prospect of saving the life of the critically injured Galactus, the assembled heroes of New York are at a loss. Finally, it is Mr. Fantastic whose fabled mind yields inspiration. Soon, Iron Man is busy using his alter ego Tony Stark's influence to assemble expensive equipment and worrying what will happen if they succeed. Over the inert form of Galactus, Mr. Fantastic constructs a fabulous mechanical device, even as the once feared being's life slips away. With the last component in place, it is time for Thor to jumpstart the machine, which will boost the energy still left in Galactus's body. As the huge energy booster accelerates Galactus's remaining power, he begins to stir. Thor suddenly finds his life essence being siphoned into it. A quick response by Captain America, who smashes the machine with his shield, frees the Thunder God just as an explosion consumes the site. From the heart of the ruins of the power booster which saved his life strides Galactus. Mr. Fantastic explains to the confused Galactus that the heroes of Earth could not turn their backs on any creature in need. Intrigued, Galactus follows them back to the Baxter Building where the Invisible Girl awaits. The Invisible Girl is understandably terrified by the approach of Galactus. But her husband explains that they will work with Galactus to find uninhabited worlds for him to devour. Unfortunately, when such worlds are identified, Galactus says they're too distant to be practical in his weakened state. Searching for a viable alternative to the problem of finding Galactus worlds to feed on, the Fantastic Four are confronted with one, in the person of Frankie Ray. The Human Torch's girlfriend has read of Galactus's heralds and volunteers to become one herself. She claims she will have no problem filling the role, even if inhabited worlds must be targeted. Considering the proposition of Frankie Ray becoming his new herald, Galactus reveals that her attitude is superior to the nobility of heralds past or the corruption of Terrax. Since she already possesses a modicum of power, Galactus accepts her, despite Mr. Fantastic's protests. Indescribable energies flow between Galactus and Frankie Ray as the young woman is transformed into the planet destroyer's newest space-spanning herald. Only the Invisible Girl's force field can protect the group from the violent powers which forever transform Frankie. Frankie Ray, now possessing a portion of the power cosmic, has become a newer, better version of herself, free to roam space at will. Not accepting that his beloved has a new destiny, the Human Torch follows her skyward. Unaware of her former boyfriend following behind, Frankie Ray soars out of the Earth's atmosphere, reveling in her new power. Because his flame is dependent on oxygen, the Human Torch cannot follow. Since the Earthlings restored his life and replaced his herald, Galactus vows that their planet shall remain inviolate. Indeed, the great being muses, perhaps on this insignificant planet he has found those he might dare call friends. Back in the present, Mr. Fantastic has finished his tale for Julie D'Angelo. The Human Torch remains heartbroken, but agrees to return to the Baxter Building with his loved ones, leaving Julie alone again, and feeling her exercises seem very trivial indeed.
Reed and Sue have gone to a lecture and Johnny is at a rock concert, which means we're here alone.
Hot dog. We got the TV all to ourselves. Fight fat guys. And is this the best or what?
Oh, Glenn. It's perfect.
What the hoo-ha? Hey!
I've got pork rinds in my hair. What happened, Ben?
Nothing, I guess.
Hey, my Pearl Jam concert got rained out. Oh man, sumo wrestling, that sucks. Iron Man, cool.
At least the world would be free of Blastar and the Terrax. Ready? Johnny? Ben? Sue? All set?
Yes, darling.
One for the money, two for the show.
Now! Through the space-time barrier into the negative zone.
I do not wish to return.
No! When I jettison cargo, hold on tight and whatever you do, don't open your eyes. Ready? Jettisoning!
You shall pay for this indignity!
Oh, metal with the will of Blastar. Die.
interdimensional window which opened onto the negative zone has been sealed.
Which leaves only one question still unanswered. What was Ben doing on the hometown shopping network?
War.